You've been asking, and I have been listening. Some of you have been asking about the process of how to write a book. And what better way than to bring in a gal named Bethany Lee, who tried 100 times to get to a publisher. And on the 101 try, her life completely changed. Now, while most of the world is wishing for 2020 to be over, Bethany decided to make 2020 her year. And her book is going to be sitting on the shelves at Barnes and Noble very, very soon. And Bethany was so kind to let us know the publisher, who she's working with, the steps, the journey, what she did when she was told no 100 times, and then what just happened on that 101st try. All right, let's dive into today's podcast. Bethany, thank you for coming on today's podcast.
Oh, dang it. Thank you for having me on. I just can't even tell you how happy I am about this.
This is such a blessing because not only have I been thinking about writing a book, I know, kind of crazy, I've had other people ask me too. So your journey, I would love for you to share like how we met. You sent me a message on how we met and how you got inspired, and then just the 10-year process of the whole thing and how you didn't let it go. And then we can dive into some of the specifics. So if you'll get started, let's do this.
Well, the journey pretty much started 10 years ago when I wrote this book. I've always been a writer. I love writing, and I've had this book in my head since I was a little kid, and I finally put it down and wrote it. I edited it. It was perfect. It was wonderful. And right as soon as I finished it, I went to the process of getting an agent. So for all people who are looking to publish a book, usually in the publishing world, you find an agent and you query many agents until you find the exact right one who loves your book, who sees the vision, and then they shop that book to different publishers. And so in your mind, when you're sending out all of these queries, you're like, oh yes, so many people are going to want this book, and so many people are going to want to publish it. It's going to be so great. And you think that the writing is the hard part, but actually what the hard part is getting published. And I would say even the hardest part is getting somebody to read the book so that they believe in it as much as you do. So I went through that whole process of having written a fabulous book, and I queried 10 agents. I researched them. They seemed like the best fit. I knew they would love it. And for most of them, it was crickets. When you query someone, you say, hey, this is what my book is about. And would you be interested if I sent you some chapters? So no one requested any chapters. So I'm like, that's all right. I'm going to reformulate my query, send it out again. Did that 10 more times. So I sent out over 100 query letters trying to find agents. And none of them wanted to represent my book. And in fact, none of them even read the book. It was so frustrating and ended in so many tears, being so excited about this wonderful book and realizing that this book was never going to happen through the publishing channels that I thought it should, the way that I thought it was supposed to happen. And so after lots of tears and sadness, and I finally just tucked it away and moved on. I wrote other things. I got really busy with life, having kids, all that stuff. And I really haven't given the book a whole lot of thought over the years. So come January, I went on this cruise, and one of the stops happened to be in Puerto Rico. And
Go Puerto Rico.
Go Puerto Rico. And the craziest thing is we were out, my husband and I, we were out looking for a trip, like what is it called? When you do like an excursion. We wanted to go to the Puerto Rican rainforest. We were so excited. We did know that Alison lived there. So that was kind of cool, but we had no idea we had a contact here, whatever. So we were just looking. And lo and behold, all of a sudden we see Michaela walking by. And then there's a couple other people that we know that know you. And suddenly there you were. And we kind of just hopped aboard into your van. And I met you for the first time. And I got really lucky. You rented a big van. I don't know how many seats were in that van.
I think like 50. I don't know if there was supposed to be 50 in there.
Yeah, it was kind of a fuss, but it was awesome because I just happened to be like right in the seat behind you and Jared. And I just listened to you guys talk. I asked a lot of questions and I learned from you. I learned that you guys are my kind of people for sure. But just asking you questions, learning about your business and what you do, having really very little context going in beforehand, I felt so inspired, Alison. It was so wonderful. I listened to you talk about selling and how you feel like selling is really your calling and you're good at it. It is your talent. And it is also your calling to teach other people how to do it and how to bless their lives and how to help them bless the lives of their families. And I was so inspired, but I also had this thought, Bethany, this is your year. This is the year of Bethany. Alison can do anything. Guess what? You can too. And this is your year. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I had some ideas, but it was just crazy because the exact thing that I was supposed to do fell into my lap a couple days later. So I'm back on the cruise, said goodbye to Alison and her adorable, wonderful family. Oh my gosh, your children are fantastic. And on this cruise, you know, you get grouped together with people, and I was sitting next to somebody named Anissa Holmes on one of our dinner nights. Now, you know Anissa, right?
I love her. I love that one.
So this cruise, we do have a lot of connections because it was Russell Brunson's cruise. So you kind of see people that you know or that you've heard of. And I met Anissa, who is a dentist and an entrepreneur. And we had this wonderful talk. And she asked me what I like to do. And I said, oh, I like to garden. I like to write. I like to do this and that. And she said, oh, wait, you're a writer? I said, well, yeah. Have you written anything? Well, I've written a lot of little things. Have you ever written a book? Well, I did a long time ago. And then we moved on. We were talking about her dental practice and all the entrepreneurship things that she does. Well, about 15 minutes later, she comes up to me. She said, you know, I know somebody who knows somebody in the publishing world. I was wondering if you want their information. And I said, oh yeah, I'll take their information. But kind of in my mind, I was thinking, oh, I don't want to go down this road again. It was incredibly painful. I failed so hard the first time I tried to get published. But I wanted to be gracious. Anissa was so lovely. And so I did end up taking this guy's name. His name is Nick Pavlidis. And I connected with him. Now, what he traditionally does is ghostwriting. Obviously, I did not need a ghostwriter. My book was done. But I also knew that he knows all the right people. So I called him up and I said, hey, I have this book. What can we do? And he said, well, is it good? And I said, well, my mom said it's good.
I love that.
That's the only person that read it. And I bet in his mind, he's like, oh no, this girl wrote a book that her mommy likes. Oh goodness. And he said, well, why don't you send it to me? And what we can do is we can rework it and make it so it's publishable and you can self-publish it. And I was like, well, okay, I have nothing else to lose. Maybe I will give this a shot. Sent it to him. And he read it and he said, nope, I love it. It is wonderful. It's done. It's good to go. We maybe need to polish a few things, but it's good to go. I'm going to put it on the desk of Morgan James, which is a publisher. Now, this kind of came so quickly out of nowhere. And I just knew, I was like, oh my gosh, it is the year of Bethany and it's happening in crazy ways that I didn't even think possible. Like, I had been thinking of business ideas when I talked to you, Allison. I had not been thinking of
what was the time frame of this? So you met me in January. You met Anissa in January.
2 days later, I talked to him perhaps a week after that.
This was Nick?
Nick Pavlidis.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone is looking for a ghostwriter or a book coach, someone to help them through the publishing process, if they do not need a ghostwriter, I would recommend him highly. His company is called Authority Ghostwriting. So there's a contact for you. But and then so that happened about a week or possibly two after my cruise, and then within 3 weeks, I had a publishing deal signed with Morgan James.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yes. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. It was such a different time frame than I had ever thought or hoped for. It wasn't on my radar, but when things fall into place, they fall into place. And sometimes it happens so quickly.
So just think about it. Like if you didn't step up 10 years ago, right, and go through all that you went through, there is no way you could have gotten a book published in 3 weeks. Like that's just impossible to do.
No.
But because you showed up, your luck increased when the opportunity presented itself.
Absolutely. I mean, I was done. I was ready for it. And also I just kind of listened to the nudgings that you get and said, okay, this is not the timeline that I thought, but I'm going to go for it anyway. This is my year.
It's totally your year. 2020. You're the first person that has said 2020 is my year.
That is true. I think everyone else wants to throw 2020 in the garbage can.
And you're like, no, bring it.
I'm happy.
Yeah, bring it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you some questions about, like, I want to dive deep into the hows and the nuts and the bolts of everything. But tell us a little bit what the book is about.
I'm actually going to read you the blurb from the back of the book, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what the book is about, right? That's what you asked me?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Caitlin, the social pariah of her high school, is so relieved to have made friends at Camp Overlook and to have caught the eye of a real live, honest to goodness boy that she is willing to look past the camp's anomalies. Creepy gray-eyed counselors, 24-hour video surveillance, and campers falling ill and then disappearing quietly into the night. But when Caitlin begins to feel strange symptoms herself, she can no longer pretend that Overlook is a run-of-the-mill summer camp. She and her new friends must race to solve the mystery of Camp Overlook, even if it means facing some difficult truths and uncovering some painful family secrets before she is the next to disappear. Told from the perspective of 3 seemingly unconnected teenagers, called upon barrels through a series of twists and turns that merge together with jaw-dropping results. There it is.
All right. That is a really good cliffhanger. Yeah. So when is the book actually going to get published?
Okay, so my publishing situation is a little bit different than maybe the standard publishing deals, because Morgan James is kind of a hybrid publishing company, meaning that they cater mostly to nonfiction. I'm guessing that's what you're writing. Is that right, Alison?
Yeah.
So they cater to nonfiction. And so what they do is they are in charge of marketing and getting their books out to like Barnes and Noble and to airports and other things like that. But it also, what you are responsible is for selling a certain amount of books yourself. And lots of times business owners and people who have a message that want to get out really utilize that book that they wrote to leverage whatever business they have. Since mine is a fiction book, it kind of works a little bit differently. So Morgan James, so I'm going to be doing my own books, and then Morgan James is going to be doing their books, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, totally.
So I'm going to be launching the sale of my personal books come September, early September. And then you'll be able to purchase those books in Barnes & Nobles and all of your favorite booksellers in March of next year.
Okay, so can I go to Barnes & Noble and take a picture next to it and post it all over social and be like, I know this author, I know this
Please, author. I'll come next to you at the Puerto Rican Barnes & Noble. We'll go swim in your pool, and then we'll take a picture next to my book at Barnes & Noble.
Still. I don't know if there's a Barnes & Noble here, though. I'll have to look.
Maybe there is. We'll check it out. Either way, I'll be sending you a book.
So cool. Okay, so it's going to be launching early September. Do they give you a percentage that say you have to sell like 10% or 20% or 50%? Like, what is the number that you are personally responsible
Okay,
of?
and I'm actually not sure like if my deal is different than anyone else's, but I'm responsible for the sale of 2,500 books, which is actually a really exciting challenge because I love entrepreneurship. I always have a little side hustle going on. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, game on. Let's go listen to Because I Can Life, because Alison has all of the good ideas. So I have listened to all of them and taken such good notes. And oh my gosh, I am so excited to really utilize all of those things that you talk about in your wonderful podcast.
Well, it's because you have this amazing product now. And so the things are clicking. And I just, like, people say, Alison, you've learned so much and this is so great. And I'm like, no, I know it's really good information, but really the person that steps up, Bethany, you are the superhero in this story because you are the one that made it happen. right? You showed up
But
10 years ago and you cried your eyes out. And now the story's unraveling 10 years later. You didn't give up on it. You didn't delete it. You didn't burn it. You didn't say, that's gone. You just knew that there was
yeah,
another timeline for it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Also, what's kind of interesting about this publishing deal is that I can really treat the book. I don't just give it to someone and hope that they market it the way that I want it to be marketed. They're going to do it how they're going to do it. But I have a chance to treat this book as a product, like anything that you would sell, say on, manufacture and put together and put your heart in and put it on Shopify or whatever. I have the opportunity to do that as well. So it's just a fun challenge. It really is. I'm just so excited about it. I'm excited to throw my own launch party in conjunction with whatever they do with bookstores. It's just cool.
Can I be invited to that launch party too?
Oh, please. One of my favorite things to do. Well, I have three. I have way more than three, but three of my talents: writing, throwing a dang good party, and baking. And so all three of those things will be happening in the launch party. And it's just going to be amazing.
Oh my goodness. I want to come. I totally want to come. Okay. So next question I have. So, the publishing process that you went through is a little bit of a hybrid. What are some of the other ways that you can publish? You talked about how you have to get a chapter submitted and that's really hard to do. You've talked about the hybrid model. Mm-hmm. Is there other ways?
Yes. And I'm not as familiar with the other ways because I haven't explored them yet, but I believe this is becoming more and more popular and also more and more lucrative. And that is just going the complete self-publishing route.
I've heard that too.
So, I think a lot of us, we want to get published because it feels really prestigious. When you have someone that is exclusive and they say no to lots of books and they say yes to your book, it kind of makes you feel good. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make you more money. So self-publishing is a wonderful way to do it. And I would think that you would get your book manufactured the same way that you would a product. Go overseas and find what are my options here? How can I get this formatted correctly and printed in a way that's cost effective? And then you get your books and then you just sell them.
Have you ever heard of Amazon's print on demand? Their books?
No.
Yeah, there's a service that Amazon has where you can have Amazon print and ship your books for you. So you don't have to sit on thousands or even hundreds of books.
See, and to me, that sounds like such a wonderful option for sure. Especially when people are feeling frustrated and they're like, I don't like this process. I think I'm going to bypass this process. And that seems like a really easy, fast way to do it.
I love that we have options now. I mean, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have had all these options.
Yeah.
You had the one option. Okay. So now I want to dive into how do you really write a book? To me, that sounds completely overwhelming because there's a lot of pages in a book.
It's a lot of pages. Absolutely.
So do you use, I don't know, Word something or Trello boards or what is the exact process that you use to write and organize and knock it out of the park?
To be honest with this book and a lot of my books, I have the idea, I have the plot, I have the characters. They're all in my mind. I know where I want it to end. And the journey is just that. I just get on the computer and I just start typing. And sometimes I'm really surprised by what happens to the characters and where it takes me, as long as it takes me to where I want to go. I don't know if I would recommend that for everybody because, man, I've had to just completely delete a lot of chapters and a lot of characters because in the end, they weren't as relevant to the end as I thought they would be. So maybe not the most efficient way to write a book. But for the most part, I would say, yes, do an outline, use Word. Okay, so find a writing time and do it every day. When you say you're going to do it, get away from your kids, get away from all of the distractions. For me, having my computer there is actually a massive distraction because I want to surf the web. I want to check the news and see what's happening. I want to check my email and my social media and all of those things. And pretty soon I've run out of time. So you really have to set a lot of goals. This is my writing time. This isn't my time to surf the internet. And I think the more you get into it and get into that zone, the more enjoyable the whole process is. It is so fun to write about things that you love. And this book was just fun. The story was fun. All of the characters, the romances, it was just fun. So write about something that you love. Yeah.
I want to read. I want to find out what's going on, why these kids are getting sick.
Yeah. Why are they getting sick?
Okay. So do you write on, okay, you said your computer distracts you. So do you write on a piece of paper and then take it to your computer? Or
no, I just make sure like that's when I'm on the computer, I don't get to, get on the internet. I am on my Word document and that is where I am.
Some of my best writing times comes when I'm on an airplane, when I have no Wi-Fi. Because
oh yeah,
distracted.
Yes.
And you're there like a 4-hour flight.
Totally.
All the juices can flow because you're not getting distracted by everything's out there.
So you said that you're in the process of writing. Can you tell me more about that? Or is it a secret?
Process of ideas.
Yeah. Ideas.
And I have had a fear, I'll tell you, I've had a fear around writing because one of my college professors told me that my writing was so bad I should drop out of college.
I know this story and what a stinker. Did that encourage you to, well, I know you said it discouraged you, but did it encourage you in a way to say, yes, I can. Watch me do it.
So, and I know this is your story and I don't want to distract from all your.
Oh no, I want to hear yours. I love it.
So I actually switched from English to math because 1 + 1 is 2. There was no subjectiveness to it. And so that just made sense to me. And then when I started my business, I had to start working up to being comfortable just writing paragraphs, just like a description of a small little cupcake liners or whatever that I'm selling, right? And I became more and more confident with descriptions. And it was just me moving forward and saying, I know I'll have spelling errors. I know I'll have grammar issues, but I'm just going to take that first step forward. And now product descriptions are nothing to me. Like I can write a product description. It's not a big deal, right? But now the book thing, I have to say, silence that old college professor and say, you know what? I don't have room for you here. I've got a story to tell. I need to push that fear aside and step into what I need to do. And so over the years, I've learned how to be uncomfortable. And so, yes, stepping into this is uncomfortable, but I know that's for growth. And so I'm okay with being uncomfortable. Where a lot of people are like, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm like, I lean into it. I've learned to lean into it. And it's pretty well for me.
Well, and like how many of those voices that we're hearing aren't even coming from external people like our professors or our parents or whoever, but they're actually really coming from us. Like we're telling us these terrible messages that are really helping us fail. So how do you get over that and tell yourself things that help you succeed?
Yes. So, there's a new book by Benjamin Hardy. Do you know who Benjamin Hardy is?
I don't.
Okay, he is brilliant. Look him up. And let me look up his book real quick. And it has to do with personality. Personality isn't permanent. And it just came out. I've been binge listening to it. And he was saying, and he says throughout the whole thing, don't write about who you were or don't do the things that made you, do the things that you want to become. And so me sitting down and writing and doing the uncomfortable things is who I want to be. That's the path that I want to be on. And so I love that he just over and over throughout that book, if you had someone that told you you're crappy in the past, don't make decisions based off that. Make the decision based on you being like with you, #1 Amazon New York bestseller, right? We're going to go there.
Right. Yeah. That's totally where it's headed.
And you are doing those things that lined you up for that. You got with a publisher, you're getting in Barnes and Noble. Will you be in Costco? Did you say Costco?
That would be amazing. I haven't thought of that. I'll present that to my publishers. I'm sure they're on it.
Costco in Puerto Rico. It's needed.
Okay. Yeah. Seriously. How do you do without it?
So you've got the publisher doing their thing, and then you've got to do your thing. So talk about the steps about how you sell a book or the path that you're going to take to sell those 2,500 books.
Okay, awesome. I'm so glad you asked that. And that is exactly where I am in the whole process. The route that I want to take is to really leverage influencers. So I have Just a regular old Facebook account and a regular old Instagram with probably a pretty standard number of followers and people that I follow. And so it feels overwhelming to be like, social media, I'm going to sell it on social media. But yeah, listening to the Because I Can podcast, I'm like, you know what? I can write these people. It's a little bit scary. It's a little daunting to write people who are influential, especially people that I don't necessarily know. But so I've started that process, writing people and saying, hey, this is my book. And how can we make this a good thing for both of us? And so far, I've received a lot of good response, which I'm excited about. I've been trying to get into some book boxes. So those are subscription boxes, kind of like the Fit Fab Fun boxes, but they have a book and then they have all sorts of little goodies to go with the book, and then they send it out, and it's a subscription service. So
what are those? I haven't heard of those. What are some of those services called? Do you know off the top of your head?
Okay, so I have a friend. She has one that's called the Lit Joy Crate. A really popular one is Owl Crate. And they've actually asked to have me send my book once it's in hard copy. So that one would be amazing.
I love all this. I love that you're like, oh, and by the way, I'm working with this company. Oh, and by the way,
yeah. I mean, we'll see if it works out, but you've got to just keep trying, right?
Yeah.
So I love the idea of my book going into those boxes. Podcasts. So, talking to you, this is my first one, and you're making it so easy on me. Thank you, Alison.
Yes, I love that I'm your first podcast interview.
Obviously, I thought that it was just going to be voice only, so this is me just from the pool. But
pool hair. You look amazing.
Yeah,
with pool hair.
So something about my book that is really important to me is, well, a couple things. It's a clean book, meaning there's really no sex or bad words. There's hard issues in the book, but those things it's a clean book, but also it has really subtle but important themes of self-worth. Like, what makes a person have worth? Who gets to decide if someone has worth or not? And once you decide what your worth is, what do you do with it? So I have all of these little underlying themes, and I really plan to leverage those themes. So, for example, on my website, when people purchase my book, there's also little extras. Learned that from you, Alison, where they can go and download like a study guide, maybe a discussion guide for like mom and their kids. So mom and dad are reading the book, the kids are reading it at the same time. The target audience is probably 12 through 17, right? And then they can have a discussion about each chapter afterwards. Book club guides, more information about self-worth, all that kind of stuff, just little extras. And that way it also kind of broadens who I can talk to on podcasts. I'm not just talking about people about my book. I can talk to mental health people and talk to them about self-worth and kind of tie my book into it, but utilize that as just another tool to make this book successful.
So instead of just you selling a book with your brain and your story and your message in there, you're saying, hey, let's have an experience. Hey, let's talk about, not only am I just going to read this book or my daughter's going to read it, let's talk about it.
Exactly.
Let's figure out why she's experiencing the things that she's experiencing, why she's dealing with the self-worth issues or not. I haven't read the book. I'm not going to be the spoiler because I don't even know.
You're gonna love it.
I love how you are creating that experience for consumption and for memories.
Right. I hope that people go away from the book not just feeling like, well, that was a good story, a really surprising story. This is a twisty, turny book. Like, it is not going to end how you think it is going to end. But leave feeling like, whoa, that took me on a ride and I liked it and I laughed and I cried a little bit. But also I thought, and because I thought, I've landed at a better place with myself because of that. So I'd like the impact to be bigger than just a small story. But yeah, the whole experience.
Love it. Okay. What's the name of the book? I don't even think we've said the name of the book yet.
It's called Called Upon.
Called Upon.
Yep.
Coming out in September. First off, if you have someone that's thinking about writing a book, or if you know someone that's writing a book and they're at the frustration, they've They've emailed out 101 people and no one
Mhm.
wants to read their chapter. What would you tell those people?
Well, definitely that they can look at other ways. There's not just one way to do anything. There's lots and lots of different ways. Um, Also to network. How cool was it that I was able to meet you, Alison, in kind of a random way and have wonderful discussions and learn from you. And then a couple days later, talk to someone that I felt like was random, had no agenda except to become her friend. And she was able to point me in the right direction. You never know when you are going to meet a good connection, someone that you can help and they can help you back. So for all these people who are writing a book, keep that in mind. Talk to people about it. Ask people what they're doing and how you can help them, and create this wonderful network of people where you're supporting each other, helping each other learn and grow. So I would say definitely networking. Don't give up. Cry it out some nights and then get back to work. If you need to take a little break, that's okay too. I took a 10-year break, so it worked out all right.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Yeah, just those things. Yeah.
And for those that are listening, you just now have met Bethany. She is now in your network. So
Yes.
Bethany, where can people
How can I help you?
I love it. I love it. Where can people find you?
All right, BethanyLee.com. I just actually purchased my domain and I'm getting ready with my website to have the product on there so that when it launches, it's there. I will probably have books ready for pre-order pretty soon as well. So that's the place to find me. You can find me on Instagram as well. Just Bethany Lee. Yeah.
Okay.
I will have a discount to all of the Because I Can Life listeners. It's I Can 30. So just go ahead and type that in as you're checking out and you get a 30% discount on my book.
Well, I know what my girls are getting for Christmas. I don't even think I'll wait for Christmas.
Love your sweet girls, and I think they'll like it.
Okay, one final question. Is it built on ClickFunnels or Shopify?
Right now, we're actually looking at a completely different option. So I guess none of the above, because I also want to use it as a blog. So
Got it.
I don't know, but probably ClickFunnels, if not that. Yeah.
I always like to know the tech side of it. So when you launch it, I'll be like inspecting it and be like, oh, it's on this platform.
What did she do? Yeah, I've been just working with my tech guy lately, and I actually got an email from him today saying, maybe we want to go on a completely different platform. So I don't know, what is your advice with this kind of product?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. The one that's going to sell you the most. I think, you've been in the ClickFunnels community long enough. If you got one product, it's great for one product. And then if you want to do a blog, blogs are WordPress all the way. WordPress all the way. You get SEO. There's just so many benefits to having a blog run on WordPress.
Okay.
So
good insight. I'm sure that's where he was kind of thinking, was WordPress as well.
And you can merge them together. And especially if you have a tech guy, just have them merge it. It. So
I love it. Great advice. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. Like, you gave us so much information about who exactly to go to, the steps on on what to take, book boxes that you can get into. Like, you just opened the floodgates, and thank you for being so generous with all that information.
I loved being on, Alison. I just respect you and your family so much. So thank you so much for having me on.
All right, let's wrap up today's podcast episode with 8 takeaways. Number 1, are you going to make this year your year? It's not over yet. Number 2, networking can change your time frame very, very quickly. Number 3, step into the uncomfortable to grow. Number 4, do the work to increase your luck when the opportunities present themselves. Number 5, there are hybrids to publishing your book now. You don't have to go the traditional way. Look into the hybrid method. Number 6, the 101st yes just may be the life-changing yes that you've been waiting to hear. Number 7, consistency. Choose a time to write every single day and show up. Then my favorite, number 8, was take your book and turn it into an experience that others, book clubs, mother, daughter, people can enjoy, turn into an experience. All right. I hope you love that podcast as much as I did. And I will see you next week.